There are two major things that you need to know about starting a YouTube channel or being in content creation, and I think a ton of people miss out on these, and you won't even believe what they are. All of us here on GodMade have different styles of content, and that's one of the coolest things about this channel here and about this community here is that we're all coming from different angles. Whether you're a chef or you drive cars really fast or you're just a content creator here on YouTube, there's a bunch of different ways that we can look at this, including today we're going to look at Eric's system and talk about writing worship and what that looks like. But yeah, let's just jump in. Welcome to GodMade. This is where we talk about the Christian creator economy, the Christian creator movement. And of course, you can sign up for our conference, fall of 2026, in the link down in the description down below. We'd love to have you there. Yeah, let's jump into it today.
That's crazy. By the way, you shouldn't have told everybody I'm a fast driver. That I like to race cars. But all right, so we are talking first about writing worship. So just a little bit of a backstory and how we built this ministry. We call it a ministry. It's not a nonprofit technically. We operate it as a for-profit, but I always tell my wife it's basically a loss that we run every year.
And when you say writing worship, this is the company name.
That's right? The name, Writing Worship LLC.
It's not just like you just like writing worship,
right? So it started with my wife is a songwriter, and she is well known for writing a few big songs for the church. One of the songs that people may know, it's called Your Great Name. Natalie Grant released it, and it won Worship Song of the Year at the Dove Awards, and has gotten, has impacted the church globally.
Your great name.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to let you sing that. So she wrote that, as well as she has a song with Torrin Wells called Famous For, and it's just been, and then she writes about 150 songs a year, So I have always looked, ever since we've been married 27 years, I've always worked with her to help her with her creativity. So my wife likes to say, I like to blow things up. Not blow them up like a bomb, but blow things up in terms of just, making an impact with things. And I love to help creatives and I know how to work with them. So my wife started teaching songwriters how to write songs. And I said to her, this was about 10 years ago, I said, I would love to create a curriculum for all the stuff that you're teaching. Like, she just started meeting in our basement with 12 songwriters, kind of taking the 12 disciples as the model, and meeting with them once every other week. And we basically took that content that she wrote and I turned it into a mentor. We call it the Worship Songwriter Mentorship. And this was back in 2017. We did a lot of things wrong. We spent a lot of money up front to record those videos, and we, this was back in the time when Teachable was one of the big platforms for courses and curriculum. And so we originally thought it was going to just be a course that people could take self-guided. And we launched it. We had about let's say, I think we had about 30 people buy the course and start to go through it. But what I noticed was, very quickly, people were stuck at session 1. It took them forever to move into session 2, and there's 8 sessions in the course. And we quickly realized, after just asking people that took the course, what was it about it that why are you not finishing? And they said, basically, they would really wish they could meet with other songwriters and take it. Yeah. So we quickly shifted and made it we made it a mentorship where every week we would meet. Chrissy would meet on Zoom with the people who took the course, who bought the course, and then they would talk about it, and then they'd be given homework assignments and work on it the next week. So it ended up becoming a 9-week cohort. Yeah. And since we started and launched this course or mentorship in small groups, we now have 750 people that have been through it.
Wow.
initially we charged, we launched it. It was a $250 self-guided course that we launched for 50% off for the first people that took it. So they paid $125 each to join. Now it is up to $500 to take the mentorship program,
which I think is incredibly fair.
Yeah,
$500 for a nine week cohort is insane.
Yeah, the value you get from it, it's people's lives are changed. It's much more than just a songwriting tutorial. You're learning heart postures and how to write from scripture, and you're doing a lot of work on your own to develop yourself as a songwriter.
I mean, think about it. Like, from my perspective, right? This is like, you're going to take a lesson from LeBron James, and you get a 9-week session with him that goes throughout this 9 weeks, and he's teaching you everything that he knows and giving you his techniques and everything else, and that's $500. That is crazy to me. That is very underpriced, I think.
Yeah. So, and we have scholarships. We help people out wherever they need to, and it's just been so rewarding to see people from all over the world take this mentorship program, and once a year we come together and we do a conference and a writing retreat, and we usually have about 100 to 150 people come, and it's just so rewarding. We built communities from that. We've recorded songs that people have written from our curriculum. We have a monthly writing club that people can take part in. Chrissy wrote a book called Writing Worship. At the time, it wasn't called Writing Worship at first, and we switched it to Writing Worship after she wrote the book. And let me just kind of break down the model and how we ended up building this. So I told you it started with this mentorship program. Well, one of the key things that Chrissy does is she has this thing called the Songwriter Personality Test. And she just did it with her 12 writers at first. And basically, after writing in like more than 1,000 co-writes with other writers here in Nashville, that's kind of the thing to do, is get together, you're co-writing. She saw 7 different personalities that people had in the writing room. And it just became really valuable for her to know where she fit into the room. In some rooms,
the godly Enneagram, if you will.
It's kind of like that, yeah. It's sort of like a test that you can figure out like what your strengths are in the room.
Yeah.
And we've had over 20,000 people take the Songwriter Personality Test. Matt was a part of it. Matt helped us with his digital advertising skills, helped us get that test out there. And it was a huge aspect to what we did. And so that we would call that, if you're familiar with funnels, marketing funnels, we would position that at the top of the funnel. So we started a podcast.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Because I think there's probably people like me that maybe have heard about a funnel but don't really fully understand it.
Yeah. So you think about what a funnel is, or an hourglass, for example, shaped funnel, where at the top of that funnel is usually free content. It's content that people don't pay for. It's readily available on social media. It's on podcasts, anything that you can access for free without having to pay anything.
So this is the top of our funnel.
That's exactly.
It's awareness. It's awareness. Like, people just know of GodMade, know of Writing Worship. Whether they go any deeper, that's the funnel. You're trying to get them to go deeper in the relationship and understanding of what you're all about.
Yeah, this is the curiosity phase where you're just aware of who we are, and people are learning whether they know, like, and trust us. So the top of the funnel is that, and then right below that is the opt-in, which is take our free Songwriter Personality Test. Takes 10 minutes to go through it, and the result, you'll find out who you are in the writing room. You'll be a better writer. You can relax in this area. You don't have to produce it. You don't have to play an instrument in the room. You can just focus on writing lyrics, for example, or writing the content. So it's that type of thing, and we have very distinct things for each of the people that have the different personalities. So after they know their result, we can then speak to them in different ways as writers. So they join our email list when they take the test, And then hopefully we're providing really valuable content from there that will help them to eventually know, like, and trust Chrissy well enough to say, maybe take one of our courses or buy the writing worship book or take the mentorship program. So that's kind of towards the bottom of the funnel is the mentorship program. That's actually one of our higher priced items.
Right.
So, but they're given a series of, we have, I think, 7 now emails that come every day after they take the test that more naturally kind of helps them to explore their songwriting craft. And it really helps them to self-identify as, yeah, I am actually very interested in becoming a better songwriter. And yeah, it seems like Chrissy's, we gave a webinar as the next video. We give a really valuable PDF document that they can download for free in the next video and in the next email. And it just kind of goes down the line where eventually they get to a point of making a decision.
Right.
Do I join the mentorship or not? And we run the mentorships 3 times a year. And like I said, we've had 750 people go through it since 2018, legitimately. So
I think whenever you're growing a business, I think that there's this big fear that people have of like, well, how do I know that I can trust you, right? I'm sure the people that are watching this or that have seen our stuff online are asking the same question. Are we like random guys who are trying to trick them into getting their money, or are we actually trying to provide value and actually trying to build a community? Which is why we've been so stringent on like I've been trying to repeat this over and over again. Like we are literally trying to build the community for you. That's our purpose. That's what we want because it just doesn't exist anywhere else.
Right.
We've had to spend the last 2 years building this community every single month, meeting together, inviting a ton of people, mostly Matt, but
80% of the load is Matt.
Actually, no, Sarah.
That's true.
Think about Sarah.
That's true. Actually, it's all me. It's actually all me because I invited Sarah
true.
and Sarah invited everybody else.
Yeah,
so.
that's right.
But I think there's this really big fear when you build a business like that of being like, can I actually trust you? And like you're saying, it takes a lot of time. Like people are going to have to spend hours with us on free content before they realize, okay, these guys are legit. I can actually trust them. They're not like, these snakes in the grass trying to trick me into buying this thing because they want my money, right? How do we navigate that as business owners, and how do we navigate that as the GodMade podcast even,
Well, I definitely have some thoughts on that.
Well, I'm just going to say my favorite marketer. So I'm a digital marketer first, and becoming a content creator as over the past couple of years. Actually, I've always been in content, but like doing it now on my own. So Seth Godin is huge in the marketing space, and one of the things that he said years ago, I forget what book it was, but basically be generous. Like give willingly, and and he's not a Christian. He's not coming from that perspective, but like give and it will come back, in certain ways. But you don't give just because you want it to come back. You give, especially as a believer. It's like if someone watching this has a God-given idea for a podcast or a YouTube channel, like as a believer, I want them to succeed. Whether they learn from us or not. Like I'm praying for them to be successful, and so
Several books inspired me too. The Go-Giver is another one that comes to mind. Bob Berg wrote a great book and a series of books on it's this concept of go-getter versus go-giver.
That's cool.
And if you focus on giving, it will come back to you, but you don't give so you can get. That's the hardest part. I think it's biblical to, he happens to be Jewish, and he uses a lot of the Old Testament kind of Jewish principles in how he structures things. So The Go-Giver is one. Another book that really inspires me as a creator is the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The old classic.
I just read that. Finally.
One of the biggest things that he talks about that I resonated with, I took it when I did the Dale Carnegie public speaking and human effectiveness class when I was 16. My dad made me do it. And it was one of the best things he ever made me do. As a matter of fact, I regret not sending my kids to that because I think there's a lot you can take from it, but they have read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But one of the big takeaways is the focus of being sincere. If you can communicate that you are sincere, and the only way to do that is to be sincere.
Yeah.
You know, if people can see, they can smell a rat, they can smell somebody who's not sincere, who just is giving to get. I can smell it. I have a very strong sensitivity to it. So I want to make sure that with our community, I said this the other night at our meeting, I want to make sure that people feel safe to share, that this is a safe space, that people feel like we are not out to get them. This is not a bait and switch. This is a sincere effort to connect. We love creators. We love Christian creators. We want to encourage them, and we sincerely want to see them win. And we're going to celebrate your wins. That's a big part of it. If you can demonstrate selflessness in what you're doing and sincere celebration of somebody else, I think that's a big part of building a strong community. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's a big fear. I think I do that all the time, like with YouTube gurus especially.
Yeah.
It's like, can I trust these guys? I don't know. Like this guy has like 5,000 subscribers. I'm not sure if I should be listening to him. You know, like I don't know. Like, is there that proven authority behind it? Do they actually want to do this, or did they see their friend make $100,000 in 6 months, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to jump on that train for sure. You know, it's always which is why I think some of our backstories are really, really important. Knowing that I come from content creation, you guys come from business and content creation and marketing and
Christian media,
right? And having those things in the back pocket of like, nope, this is where we come from. This is where we're wanting to go, and we're just open and transparent about that. And the more transparent we can be, the more that people will trust us. So
well, and if you ever see an ad or anything from us where we're saying we guarantee you millions of likes and
you
follows,
will never see that.
No, it's AI.
No, it's AI. It's someone faking it, because I think our heart, we can all agree, we would love for someone in the GodMade community to reach millions, but we're not going to say that that's better than the person who's reaching 10 people, but going deep in their faith. And so I'm getting an ad right now targeted to me from a Christian creator, and the ad literally, it says, I think it's, at least they're not guaranteeing that if I go through their course, I'm going to get a 100,000 subscribers, but it says, I can almost guarantee you will get 100,000 subscribers if you join this. And it's like, I'll be honest, for a little bit, there's a part of me going, but it's like $25. So I'm like, is something $25 really going to get me 100,000? Like that doesn't line up in my mind. Like, because if you can almost guarantee it, like that's worth way more than $25.
I don't like the manipulation.
Oh gosh, no kidding.
Just keep me away from that, because there is no way that for $25 I'm going to get anything of value out of that. And so that's why I don't mind. Like we always, even for our mentorship, we always make people pay something. Because if you don't have some skin in the game, and if you're not invested in it, what makes you think that if you're not investing financially, you're not going to invest your time into it. And that actually makes the mentorship program worse. It devalues it for the rest of the songwriters who did spend money and are willing to invest their time. Because the more you give in a community like what we have, the more you're going to receive from it. It's the same thing for the members of the community. So it's always about giving and receiving and sowing. If we are found sowing seeds more, then we are trying to reap a harvest. In other words, if we're trying to take or get something from you, that's something you need to be. If it's overly about that, that's something to be very suspicious of.
I'll tell you, a huge example of this for me is Mike. We're all friends with Mike Stelzner, who is one of the biggest players in the social media space, period, and runs Social Media Marketing World, one of the biggest conferences for social media in the world, out in California, and he comes to the group every month. And it's like,
and there's giving,
and there's
generously, like anything, knowledge, wisdom, connections, like it's incredible.
Very generous.
Just no reason that he needs to be there.
No.
Other than his daughter being there and gaining some things, but there's no reason that he needs to be there other than he loves the community. He wants to be a part of it, and he wants to give, which is so good, you know?
Well, and fostering a community that is more giving than taking. And that's easier said than done, because as a community grows, there's always going to be someone who comes in and they don't understand the culture yet, and they're just like, most networking events are, what can I get?
Yeah.
In fact, there's a guy locally here. His name's Kay Harame.
It's spelled differently, but yeah, it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah, it's spelled Harame, right?
Right, yeah.
And so, but he's got a book coming out next year, and he might be a great guest, and it's called NetWeaver. And it's the idea of, instead of being a networker, but a net weaver. And a net weaver goes, Eric, you need to meet this guy, Brandon, because I think you guys have something, and it's behind the scenes. And I'm doing that not because, okay, that's going to be beneficial to me. Like, it might be, but that's not the reason I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I think it's in the best interest of you two. And so, that's...
Yeah, I had Mark Maxwell, who's a lawyer, an attorney in the Christian music space. He has a similar type book. I can't remember what it's exactly called, but it's all about networking. And he does this very well. He's a living example of this. You do this really well. You are a net weaver. He's a net weaver. When you're talking to this man, he is never looking to the side about somebody else he can talk to. He literally looks you in the eye, almost to the point where I'm like self-conscious. Like, please don't look me so closely. But he is so good at focusing and taking an interest in you, sincere interest in you. Again, going back to the Dale Carnegie thing, you can tell it's not an act. It's the way he lives his life. And that's what I hope we do with GodMade. I don't want to be a part of something that is in any way plastic. I want it to be authentic.
Interesting people are interested. And I have no idea where that quote came from, but it stuck with me when I heard it once. And the idea is, I will be more interesting if I'm interested in what genuinely, it comes back to the authentic genuineness, I'm interested in what you're doing. And I am. And then thus, I'm learning more about what you're doing, and I can pass on. I've shared your story to so many people, like, man, you got to check out what he's doing on YouTube. Because I'm interested in it, and I find other people who are interested in growing on YouTube. Well, go check out what Brandon's doing. And so,
sounds like a Sean Cannell quote.
But I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either, but it sounds like one of those things. Like,
I've even looked it up on AI and Google, and I've never gotten the official
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to find. I bet.
Well, we're going to talk about the two most important things that you could do if you're starting out being a content creator. But first, we're going to jump into some Bible verses with Matt. So you want to jump in there?
The
Bible
verses
the pipe
organ,
with Matt.
the choir.
Let's go.
No, I don't even know. I mean, I'm just going to read them because this is GodMade. Like I was just the other night thinking, what are the verses that can encourage a Christian content creator? What's the verse that we're going to put up on the wall? Or just be your mission. And so I found 4. AI found 2 of them. 2 of them were from my own head.
We love AI.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, I've got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. It's wild how much the AI knows the Bible. It's scary.
That is actually a topic we're going to talk about in the future. Is AI and what are the limits and all that good stuff. So first one, Mark 16:15, and he said to them, "Go into all the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole creation." That's what we're doing as creators. We're going into YouTube. We're going to podcasting. I love the idea of flooding. You talked about TikTok and how that's a place where we need to put more people. And so more
Move
Christian
your mic
content.
a little bit so you can see your face a bit more.
Oh, yeah. You got to see this.
Or move yourself over.
We got to see your beautiful face.
There we go.
Real life here on YouTube.
Next one, Romans 10:17. Everyone's probably heard this one. So faith comes from hearing. That is, hearing the good news about Christ.
Let's just go through one by one, and we'll discuss each one, because then we can kind of digest it a bit more.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the first one.
The first one, go into all the world, proclaim the gospel to the whole creation.
Yeah. How do we do this as creators or as business owners? We talked about this a little bit with the Emmys and people living in the world that are spreading the gospel. But I don't think it necessarily looks like what I do, right? What I do is I pull up biblical media. We're talking about specifically biblical stories. We're pulling up the scriptures that go with them. We're deep diving into the Greek currency and what that looks like. I don't think it looks like that all the time, right? I think it also looks like a Ryan Trahan. I think it also looks like a Zach King being excellent in their work, and then using that platform to just be examples of what Christ looked like. And so I don't think it looks like necessarily you are, here's step 1, 2, 3, 4 of the gospel, and that's how you're laying it out every single time. But I think you preach the gospel, and if necessary, use these steps,
words.
you know, if necessary, use the sinner's prayer, which, you know, we could talk about that another time too.
But I think of a band that I worked with called the Annie Moses Band. You ever heard of them? They are excellent musicians. When I say excellent, 2 of them I think are Juilliard graduates. They write and play classical music, but also bluegrass and Southern gospel. They're kind of this unique thing. And they have a conservatory. They have, I think there are 8 of them in the family. And I got to work with them 12, 15 years ago. And they inspired me by the way that Robin, who is the mother, the matriarch of the group, she talked so much, even before it was cool, about propagating the earth. Go into all the earth and propagate the gospel and share the gospel, fill it and so that people are overwhelmed with truth, with light, with love, with all the aspects of our faith that there is, and do it excellently. That's what I think about. You should look them up. Annie Moses Band. They're phenomenal people.
Yeah.
You're being a digital missionary. You know, I mean, in our first episode, I think you talked about how you could reach more people by doing a YouTube channel than in person. And I think there's a place for both, no doubt about it. But
Billy Graham didn't stop at his home church.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
There's a reason why he had these huge events, because it brought people to him and to God. And obviously that works, you know? So,
Yeah. Good.
All right. The second verse was Romans 10:17. So faith comes from hearing, that is, hearing the good news about Christ.
Yeah, that is exactly right. It makes me think about what I consume on a daily basis as a consumer of content. How much of, I talked about Severance the other day. It can really twist your mind quite a bit. And there are countless examples of me consuming content that's not really, what was the scripture again? Faith comes by hearing. And what's the rest of it? Romans
10:17.
Yeah.
And hearing the good news about Christ.
And hearing the good news. So how is my faith being developed? And how much of that comes from hearing the good news of Jesus Christ? So that's a challenging scripture for me.
And I think there's a difference too between like that verse in particular. Like Paul's talking about this idea that like it's not just that you are seeing people living it out. It's not just that you're studying it for yourself, but that you're actually digesting that material. So when he says hearing, it's not just a word of like, oh, I've heard about it, you know?
Yeah.
It's like faith comes through actually listening, actually digesting and being in that. So for your example, like if you are actually digesting Severance in a way that's like, I'm going to apply this to my life, it's going to be part of my identity, that's a way different digestion than, hey, I just watched the show and it was interesting.
Right.
You know?
It reminds me of when I was so into The Walking Dead.
Yes, yeah.
It was my life. But part of it was my life because I had to talk about it every week, multiple times in the week. And it just consumed me. And what did it do for me? It filled my life with a lot of darkness. It brought a lot of pain into our home. And someday I want to share how that impacted us and how I escaped out of it.
Yeah.
It's profound to think about what we consume, what we digest, how deeply we digest it, and whether it turns into our identity. I mean, we look at our culture today, and society is strongly impacted by the content people are consuming, especially young people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I think there's different kinds of hearing. You know, faith comes by hearing. You can just hear it in passing, but then hearing it in relationship. So whether someone watches every video that you do and then you mention a Bible verse, that's going to hit differently because they're going to go, I really love this person's content. I think of Ryan Trahan. He's one of the biggest YouTubers out there. And then this summer, there's all these people who are donating to his thing, and there's Bible verses everywhere. So it's just going to hit a little differently because you're seeing a Bible verse on this massive YouTuber, and like there's just a different context. Also, like I share my faith behind the scenes with someone, like it's done in relationship. That's a different kind of hearing. You know, if I'm just on the street and yelling a Bible verse, that's one thing. But if it's a relationship with someone, I think there's just different kinds of how they're going to hear it and digest it.
But I also think there's, on the opposite spectrum, right? There's also a time when God will challenge you to step up and be like, no, this is the time that I want you to proclaim my name boldly in front of everybody as clear as you possibly can, right? Like I'm thinking 2 examples are like, obviously with the rise of Christian creators right now, with the whole Charlie Kirk stuff, like there is a huge movement right now of people that are wanting to step up and really wanting to proclaim the name of Christ as clearly and boldly and outwardly as they possibly can, right? So does that mean for a Ryan Trahan or for a Zach King or whoever else is in that sphere, right? Like there is an opportunity for them to do that. I think so, yeah. I think there is. But what does that also mean for them? I think the other example I'm thinking of is Forrest Frank, right? Where this last week he made a post about Charlie Kirk and he immediately lost 30,000 followers.
Seriously? I did not know that.
So he made a post about Charlie Kirk. He immediately lost 30,000 followers. Then he made a video and he said, well, I made this post about Charlie Kirk, you know, and then I lost 30,000 followers. And he said, good. You know? And it's like,
don't come to my show.
Yeah. And he's like, you are like, if you're the type of person that's going to just run away whenever I have an opinion or whatever else, like these are not the type of people that I'm ever going to reach. These are not the type of people that are ever going to be, you know, the core community of the people that I want in my community. And he clarified later. He's like, I'm not saying that I'm kicking anybody out. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna, you know, be welcoming to everybody. But at the same time, like if you're gonna have hatred like that, that is not something that I'm going to allow to thrive in my community either, you know?
Well, it just goes back to being afraid of losing followers or being afraid of losing, you know, or me as a recovering pleaser, you know, I would naturally want to please everybody, but God has been working on me in the last 10, 12 years to understand that I'm secure in him. And if God is calling me to do something, then I'm going to do it. Yeah. And whether I lose followers or not, I have to be obedient to God first and foremost.
Yeah.
I think there's a verse about obedience is better than sacrifice or something like, I can't remember what the verse is, but so obedience is really valuable in the kingdom.
Yeah, obedience is better than sacrifice, basically talking about how the Jews were stuck in their traditions and stuck in what they wanted to do. But Jesus was trying to tell them, like, hey, like if you just obey God in these ways, it does work out, you know? Like all of the law and the prophets are fulfilled in these things. You know, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself, you know? Those things are what fulfills the whole entire scripture. So, obedience is better. Me and my wife, we always say this, following Jesus is better, but it's not easy, right? That obedience factor is better, but it's not easier, which means your life will probably be harder. The things that you go through will probably be much harder, but it is better in the outcome. So,
All right, next verse, Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits.
I think this one's huge. I think for me personally, I've seen a lot of impact whenever I make videos. And so there are those times when I speak out and I say things that I know that God wants me to say and I lose subscribers. There's many videos, probably I can think of off the top of my head, probably 5 or 6 videos that are, I'm pretty harsh with certain things. And things that are biblically, you know, needed to be harsh about. And so I lose, so I can watch it in real time. You know, I post the video and then immediately the graph is like, you know, and
I love that sound effect.
But I've lost a lot of subscribers over the years for my opinions or the things that I say. And so that's one aspect of it. But also the other aspect is I've seen people that because of a sentence that I said have completely changed their lives, you know, because of one simple thing that I said, it has completely changed their view on Christ. It has completely changed their view on the Bible. It has completely changed their view on God as a whole. Right. And so that shows me that there is power in the tongue, you know, there
are good and bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are certainly things that I could say that which is why I have so much responsibility in what I do, right? And I think the more that you grow, the more responsibility that you have, right? Now that I'm reaching, millions of people rather than thousands or hundreds of people, there's a different level of responsibility for me to get things correct or to correct when I get things wrong, right? And be very transparent about that. I tell people all the time, like, I'm not a biblical professor who's going to like get everything perfect every single time. And even biblical professors are wrong, right? Like even those people who are trained and pastors on a Sunday morning, they will say something wrong. I guarantee you. But the humility to come back and be like, hey, I said this thing wrong. Like, let me correct that. Or here's what I was thinking. Maybe I said that in the wrong way. Maybe some people like misconstrued what I was saying. Things like that I think are really, really important as well. But.
Yeah, I think it's not just what you say; it's how you say it. It's also, death and life are in the power of the tongue. So, one of my main prayers that I pray almost daily is, help me to speak life into somebody else, whether it's just whoever it is, my kids, my wife. So many times I'm caught in a bad moment and I will just be sarcastic, or it's not even whether it's scripture or anything else. It's just something negative that's really consuming my mind. And I tend to be a verbal processor, which is not always good, because sometimes I will say something and as soon as it comes out of my mouth, I have to apologize to my wife, for example, because I didn't mean it the way I meant it.
Right.
Or it could be on a podcast. I'm sure that's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to apologize at some point. Let me just already say that right now as a verb. Not that I'm not going to be lazy. I'm going to be careful, and I'm going to hopefully prepare as best I can.
You can just apologize to this camera right here.
I am so sorry for what I said and for what I will say in the future. There it is.
We'll just turn that into a meme and we'll reply to every bad comment.
I am so sorry. What was I thinking?
Mine will be, he did it.
Good. I'm happy to accept the blame.
You're our scapegoat.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, a verbal processor can be good, but it also can cause a lot of problems if you're not careful. So speaking life is a prayer for sure.
Yep. All right. And then final one, Matthew 5:13-15. You are the salt of the earth, but what good is the salt if it has lost its flavor? Can you make it salty again? It will be thrown out and trampled underfoot as worthless. And then you are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on the stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. And the light part, I mean, both salt and light, but the light of, the mission of this is to raise up more content creators from TikTok to YouTube and everything in between, because the light will drown out the darkness.
Sermon on the Mount.
Yep.
I went through a period of time where I just listened to the Sermon on the Mount every day because it's just so powerful, and it's like you can study that thing and really just have takeaways for the rest of your life there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a reminder that we are to be, that how we are to live our lives, and again, I think. As I've gotten older, I've learned to stop performing, because when I first accepted Christ at 23, I really performed that before I knew how to live it.
Yeah.
And I think you the work that you have to do in order to get out of performance mode and into just being that way is just, it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to study Scripture, to work on yourself, prayer, and that just doesn't come easily. It's like 10,000 hours of work that you have to put in for that.
Yeah, and I think some people are born with more humility or more arrogance, whatever that is, like however they grew up. I think you in particular and me in particular, being in the worship field for so long, I think understand this a lot more in that space. I was a worship pastor for 10 years, so I was friends with a lot of people that were in that sphere, other worship pastors and other people around that area. It is very hard. It is very hard to be a worship pastor and not have arrogance and have a big head. And it's one of the most difficult things, I think, in ministry that a lot of people don't really think about. Because you can be a pastor and like speak on Sunday morning and like not really get that recognition. But when you're performing, literally, right, and you're using a talent in such an obvious way, there's a lot of people that want to praise you and lift you up and make you something that you're not, right? And so unless you really try hard, or God has instilled in you a natural humility, it is insanely difficult to live out that life without getting a big head, without getting filled with arrogance. And I saw it dozens of times from different people that I was around or friends that I had, different things like that, where they just fell into this rhythm of like, I have to do this because I feel like it'll serve me rather than serve God, you know? And so I think that's huge for sure. So that goes back to the saltiness. Like if you're called to be in that position, whatever that is, whether you're a content creator, whether you're starting a business, whether you're a pastor, whether you're a husband, like whatever that is, if you don't have the saltiness in order to be in that realm and do that thing properly, it's really dangerous, because salt has great properties, right? In that it can preserve, in that it can enhance, right? But it also has very devastating properties. If I go to your garden and I spread salt everywhere, you will never be able to grow anything in that garden ever again. And so it's a two-edged sword for sure.
Side note, I do my weeds that way.
Really?
There you go.
I have a vinegar mix. It's vinegar.
We've turned into
vinegar,
the gardening with
salt,
Eric show.
And water, I think. And it just kills all of our weeds.
Just like my favorite Lay's chips, salt and vinegar.
Oh, yeah. So think about what it's doing to kill inside your body.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm glad you talked about the salt is the flavoring or the preserving. And another one that I recently heard was it makes you thirsty.
Oh yeah, you're the salt guy.
Well, yeah, no, I
guy.
literally got a devotional, 365 days salt and light. So I've listened to many sermons because I want to understand all the different meanings that Jesus could have meant through this. And so, but when I look at it through the lens of Christian content creators, is your content preserving? And I think the church does this a lot. Like we want to kind of defend biblical values, which is good. But then there's another, the flavoring. Like I would put Ryan Trahan again. He's just adding some nice flavor. It's fun. It's not. And then there's probably more you can go deeper into the flavoring side. But then the thirsty part. That's something I heard recently. And the things that we say, again, we go the last verse, the power of the tongue. The things that we say should make a believer or a non-believer go, what is that hope? What is that? Makes them thirsty to want to go explore more. And so, I mean, that's what we, Eric and I working in Christian music. Christian music does such a great way to like just open the conversation, make you think of things of God, of the kingdom of God, through a powerful artwork, And so I think as content creators, we can be a part of that also, to get someone to take that first step of opening their Bible or digging into what Jesus actually said. So,
we're not called to necessarily be the harvest, but we are called to sow the seed. And, we're throwing a lot of Bible analogies in here, but yeah, it's just powerful to understand that what the meaning behind that was. Also, not to mention that salt is vital for your body. If you don't get enough of it, you are actually harming your body. It can't live without salt. So
I met a homeschool kid here in Nashville who it's called Salt and Light, and it's a hydration. And so anyway, it's true. Like athletes, in order to perform at a high level, have to take. I learned about salt on the set of The Chosen. Dallas Jenkins was talking about, hey, use this hydration stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, there's importance to it. That's key to our body operating.
Electrolytes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Minerals.
Yeah, I think you should make a 366-day devotional just to outdo.
One up him.
Yeah. Have that be your first product for your channel. Yeah, that'd be great.
For that leap year, or
exactly.
Leap year edition.
Every 4 years, I'll just promote it.
Yeah, that'd be great. But moving on from our scripture verses here, the top 2 things that you need in order to start a Christian creativity journey. I think there are 2 things that, so I've done research over the last 5 years intensely. I mean, tens of thousands of hours over the last 5 years of me hyper focusing on YouTube, analytics, what to look for, what not to look for, doing research on channels that I'm around in my niche, outside of my niche, everywhere, right? Not that I know everything about YouTube, but I have a college level education for sure, right? When it comes to YouTube and understanding YouTube. And I have helped a lot of people start their YouTube and try to get into it. And I see two huge things that people get wrong immediately when they start.
Oh, I can't wait. You're keeping me in suspense.
This is going to be like the intro to this whole episode, I think, right?
We'll just record one right here. There are two major things that you need to know about starting a YouTube channel or being in content creation, and I think a ton of people miss out on these, and you won't even believe what they are. We'll put that at the beginning.
And we're going to keep this in the long form, so you see how it's made.
Exactly. But the idea here is people will start something, right? Because they're like, oh, I have a great idea. I'm going to do this thing. I saw this one creator do this. Maybe I can copy them, right? Sure. And I see this way more often than not, where people will start something and they're just really excited about it, but then 2 weeks, 2 months, even 2 years down the road, they're completely out of it.
Been there, done that. Yep.
And they completely don't want to do it anymore. I love the lawnmower comparisons, though.
Yes.
But I see this. I've seen this dozens of times with different people that I've talked to, or different people that get into content creation, because they start to learn. Like, it's this. What is that curve? It's like the curve of learning something. Do you know the name of that? I forget what it is.
It's not a bell curve.
I can't remember what it is.
Not the long tail.
I can't remember the name of it. It's a specific curve. But
put it in the comments. The fact that we don't remember stuff, like, you need to tell us.
Yeah, for sure. But it's the specific curve that you start off learning something. You start off at the bottom. You start learning something.
The learning curve?
It goes up very, very quickly, right? And then you get, like, it's a learning to confidence scale, basically. Yeah. So you start learning. You get very, very confident very, very quickly. And then you fall off and realize you don't know anything. And then you start learning and become an expert, right? As you get real knowledge, as you continue on, and your confidence grows as you become more of an expert, right? A lot of people that are starting YouTube, they're on that bubble that's going to burst, right? Of them starting, they think they know everything, they think they've gotten this huge success, and then it breaks off. I think you're experiencing some of this right now. Not that you don't have the knowledge, but that you're experiencing this curve at the moment. Yeah. Same thing with our friend Isabella, where she's had this great success, and then now she's texting me every single video saying, why isn't it doing the same? Why isn't it doing the same, right? You have one video that, like, your video is killing it. It's got like 160,000 views or something. Yeah. Insane. That's insane. It took me forever to get a video over 100,000 views. So that's crazy. But now you're starting to realize there's more to it than this. So that's the biggest intro I could ever give for this.
Wow. Yeah, we haven't even gotten into it.
With the 1 and 2 now, man.
So number one is your why. Okay. We've talked about this a little bit. We've alluded to it before, but number one is absolutely your why. Why are you doing this? If you do not have a solid, like, foundational why, do not even start a YouTube channel. Do not even start your Instagram. Do not start whatever you're trying to build, your business, right? If you don't have a why, it will not work, right? Our why for GodMade is to create a community of Christian creators. That is the why. No matter what else happens, no matter what else we build, no matter what else we add to that, whatever that looks like, the core of our hearts is to build the strongest Christian community that we possibly can, right? And hopefully for it to be the #1 Christian community of creators, right? That's the goal. And so that is our why. And it's a very strong why that's rooted in all of our hearts. Like, if I was into it, but, like, Eric really didn't care about it, and then Matt didn't really care about it, like, it would be a completely different thing. But because it's in all three of our hearts, I think we have a passion for it, and we're in it for the long haul. We're ready to invest money into it. We're investing our time, obviously, recording these episodes and getting everything ready behind the scenes. Our why, I think, is very, very strong. My why for The Chosen Sleuth is I want to be the #1 place for biblical media, period, right? Anywhere you want to know news or breakdowns or deep dives into Christian media, I'm the place you go, right? So if you heard about a brand new Christian show, most likely you heard it because you're on my channel, and I've talked about it a year ago before it even came out, right? That's my why, is because I want to grow this platform to be the #1 spot for biblical media in order to help you get closer to God, right?
So I want to ask the question, the natural question that I think listeners and viewers are thinking, well, how do I come up with my why?
Yeah.
You guys have any thoughts?
Or
about how?
my why is I want to make lots of money, and then I can give it away to ministries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some practical ways that you can write down and get to the point of like being confident in your why?
Yeah. I personally think God has made your whole life to be at a place, right? To continue on and keep on growing. Doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, God is still going to continue to have things for you to do in the future, right? And so, but in saying that, since the time you were 5, since the time you were 1, God has had a plan for your life to get to where you're going to be, right? So all of your Walker Stalker stuff, like all the Walking Dead stuff, it served a very big purpose in your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It gives you authority in a space that you're in, and you're wanting to be in more. It gives you a history of doing things and giving you skills that are unprecedented for 99% of other people. Right. And even though you were talking about before, like there may be some darkness there may be some downsides, but God used that to build you through it. Right.
Yep.
And so I think that there are things that you know in your heart of hearts, what your why is, right? And what God has created you to do. There are natural abilities. Like I've had a natural ability since I was young to communicate, to sing, to perform,
Express yourself in some ways.
Yeah, 100%. And so because of that, I can lean into those things. I also have a natural proclivity for tech, right?
Yeah.
Like all the stuff that's set up in here, it just comes really, really naturally to me in terms of like what I want to do and how I want to do things in the tech world, right? I also have a lot of authority because I spent the last 10 years of my life performing, communicating, leading young adults group, and also leading all the tech stuff, right? Because that's what you do in church. You wear 10 different hats, right?
And make $15,000 a year for it.
Yes, exactly.
Like you said in another episode.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, at least, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on why. But yeah.
No, I think you're dead on. Like, you're going to know it deep down in your heart. Like, all your experiences leading up to today, there's going to be themes. There's going to be common themes.
Yeah.
And if there isn't, then spend a little more time in God's Word and pray about it.
Yeah.
And He will answer.
And ask the people around you.
Yeah.
Because I think I can see Matt's gifts a lot more clearly than he can.
Yeah.
And they can probably see my giftings a lot more clearly than I can in certain spaces. So, yeah.
I think journaling is a big part of it. Asking yourself certain questions like, what have been all of my experiences up until now? What has God allowed me to experience? What's my talent stack? What's my skill stack? And by that I mean, what are the things that I'm good at, and what are the things that I love to do, that I'm passionate about? It goes back to those 4 quadrants that you referenced in the other video, where we need to kind of look at those 4 things. But it's journaling, asking yourself those questions. What am I passionate about? What do I have energy for? What's life-giving to me? Those are all questions that you ought to ask and journal, pray about. But then, yes, ask other people. Hey, Matt, what do you think I'm good at? I'm really stuck here. Can you give me some input, some feedback about how do you experience me? And if I were to create a YouTube channel, or anything, what would you see me doing?
Yep.
I think it's very simple, actually.
I also think your why will be refined once you start. Like, you can start with kind of a broader idea, but I just know over the last 4 months working on my Salty Christians YouTube channel, I technically started a year ago. And I was going to interview people in the faith-based media space, because I love how they're being salt and light, making culture. And so I was like, oh, I live in Nashville, perfect. I can interview all these people. But then I did a couple of those episodes, and then I've known this guy who works at a pharmacy, and hearing his testimony of this very basic, checking people out when they get their medications and listening to the Lord and the Holy Spirit speak to them. Hey, pray for that person. And I was like, man, that's is
cool. Yeah.
So convicting to me. Like, I don't want to pigeonhole. Like, a lot of times in the, when you learn YouTube or content creation, niches in the riches, niche down, So like
that's
first idea.
That's definitely Sean Kettle.
100%. That is, riches in the niches. But I didn't want to only pigeonhole myself, because I also saw the value of learning from the, quote, celebrity Christian, the big name people, but then there's something we can learn from the more humble every day. And I think there's a place for both of them.
But the point is, you started with this guy.
I had a very broad idea. Yep.
Yeah, and that's what sort of sparked the rest of it. And now you have a much more refined Salt.
100%. And now I know what interviews to say no to, because I know what my end goal is, what I want someone after they watch a video. And I know some of the different ingredients that it takes in order to make that accomplish. So that's mixing, using the tools of YouTube and knowing how to get attention and keep attention. So it's the stylistically, but then also what is the story that's going to be woven in through that style of video. And I'm still learning. I mean, you mentioned I've got this one video that just totally popped off and it's awesome. And one of the things that it's like tempting to do is, I just need to copy that, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
that's not bad to start that way.
But trying to, what can I learn from that one in the YouTube speak, the outlier, that one outlier?
Yes.
What are the things in that I can take and apply to future episodes?
Yeah.
And then mixing in, like, it's not only to have 160,000 views, but like, Lord, maybe I need to interview the person that nobody knows, but they have something that needs to be said. Yeah. And that video maybe is only going to get 800 views, but it's still going to have a kingdom impact.
Yeah, I wonder what percentage, because your video is talking about a Disney animator who left Disney because of his faith.
Yeah.
And I think in that video, I wonder how many of those people knew Tom ahead of time versus how many are just interested in that idea, And I think the majority probably did not know Tom, would be my guess. But I would say, going back to something that you said that's very, very key is, what if your why is that you want $1 million? Yeah. And I think that there are these certain whys, like my why, for example, Mr. Beast, his why is absolutely unsustainable. It is, I want to be the best YouTuber for all time, right? That is his why. It is absolutely unsustainable. It has made him the best YouTuber of today, but it will not make him the best YouTuber of forever. Yeah. Because eventually there's something that will happen in him where he will understand that is not what fulfilling life is. Without God, you do not have that fulfilling, sustainable life forever. It could last for a couple decades, could last for a certain period of time. Right. But I think that something will happen in his life where he determines, maybe getting 1 billion subscribers, maybe that's enough. Like, what does that look like? And I think in terms of money, it's the same exact thing. It's just not sustainable, right? If I have $1 million, or if I have $10 million, or if I have $100 million, or if I have $1 billion, right? If I'm a trillionaire like Elon Musk, like almost.
He probably is by the time this video comes out.
Maybe. None of that matters, right? Like, it very much stops mattering. I have many other things that I'm really interested in. For example, Elon Musk, I'm sure he's much more worried about his children, right?
I hope.
He's got them all over the place.
He's probably worried about a few of his children at the very least, right? Where he's understood how many mistakes he's made with his previous children and how a lot of them are turning on him and not liking him and don't want to have anything to do with him. And so now his littlest one especially, he is taking a very hard interest in, right? And so he's seeing that unsustainability of, cash is not enough. I have to make an impact. I have to change the world. I have to do all these things. And the God-sized hole for him is he's trying to fill it up with spaceships and cash and children and women and everything else, right? And it's unsustainable. It will not work, right? But if you have a why that is congruent with the way that God has made you, that is congruent with the mission that he's put you on this earth to do, then that is the most fulfilling thing, right? I never need another dollar in my life if I keep on getting comments that say, Brandon, because you said this, I went back to church. Because you said this, it led me to read this Bible verse, and now I'm convinced from an atheist to whatever else, right?
Or because you said this and you did this podcast, I decided to finally have the courage to create something.
Yes.
And then we're part of this little seed that always be part of the story. I remember, this is not necessarily a Christian thing, but it was definitely the fact that Pat Flynn started Smart Passive Income, and knowing his story, that inspired me in my journey early on, gave me the courage and the confidence to finally do my first podcast. The first podcasts were terrible. Like, they sounded terrible. They were really raw. They weren't refined salt like yours is, or becoming. But but the fact is, it was a seed. If I can be a part of that, if we can see that and that be the stories that are being told, that, hey, your podcast, your videos, they give me encouragement to keep going, you know?
And then you end up in one of his books. It's so cool. But that's number one, is your why. Your why is incredibly important. If you do not have a why to drive you, you will stop making content. You will get burnt out. You will stop doing what you thought you were supposed to do in the first place, right? Secondarily is the who. It's the who you are serving, right? So your why is incredibly important, but you cannot go into a podcast like this or to a channel starting out or anything else without knowing exactly who you're serving. Meaning that you have to get really, really granular with it. For example, the person, the avatar is what we kind of, in the industry, we call them avatars, right? The idea of an avatar is that you have a specific person that you're making videos for, right? Or maybe it's a couple different people. You have a couple different demographics that you're going for. But generally, when I talk to people and they're just starting a channel, one of the biggest mistakes that I see them do is, oh, well, my content is so valuable, everybody can be impacted by it, right? And this is just not the case. For you, you've had a bunch of people come through Writing Worship. You've had a bunch of people come to the conference, but your total addressable market is not that large.
No,
right?
It's not.
For Christian music writers.
Christian songwriters, worship songwriters that want to write songs for the church.
Right.
It's a small audience.
Yeah.
But yet we still have 20,000 people that took the test. Yeah. We've had 750 people go through the mentorship. And I feel like we've done a lot of great things for the kingdom. Yeah. So it's we can sleep well at night, Chrissy and I, knowing that we do that, and that's really rewarding. Yeah. But if you had tried to reach everybody, and you're sending ads to the grandma in Denver and the teen in Florida, right? These are completely disparate people, right? Yeah. Whereas, like for me, my audience is generally older women, 55 to 65 plus, right? My average age of my audience is honestly probably 65. Wow. So YouTube doesn't give me the analytics because it just cuts off at that older age. It doesn't give me beyond that. It just says 65 plus or 75 plus or whatever it is. And so it doesn't give me the older ages. I know some of the oldest members of my community are almost 90 years old, right? Who are dedicated and there like every single week. So these are people that I don't really relate to quite a lot, other than our faith and other than our love for biblical media, right? And so because of that, I tuned my avatar, the person that I'm making videos for, the person that I'm talking to, the cadence that I use. Like right now, I'm talking as I normally would, right? Talking as I normally would to friends. I'm excited, right? I'm animated. In my videos, I don't normally talk like this because they cannot understand me when I talk fast, right? They will comment over and over again, hey, Brendan, slow down. You're talking too fast. I can't really understand everything that you're saying. And so I'll intentionally, during my live streams, have to slow down a little bit, intentionally try to talk about each individual topic, not because they're stupid, not because they're slow, it's just because they need to digest, and they're used to talking a little bit deeper and slower, right? I won't make references to anything in Gen Z or millennial like humor, right? I won't really talk about shows that I grew up watching or anime or anything like that I like personally in my life. Do they like Golden Girls?
I'm sure a lot of them did. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them did. But like I try to make references that they would better understand that also resonate with me, right? So that who is incredibly important. I'd like to talk to you. Do you know who your audience is?
No, so I want to talk to you.
Okay, yeah.
So what comes first? The who, or does the who get defined by your analytics? Yeah. So can you create content that attracts the who? And should you do that? I don't know, because here's my general thought. You should absolutely have an idea when you're first starting of your why and your who, and be very specific with your who. So for me, like this person doesn't actually exist. There are people in my community named Karen, but my avatar's name is Karen as well, where she is a 55 to 65-year-old woman who does not have kids in the house anymore. They're all either grown or, they're off on their own. She doesn't have to take care of them day to day. She's out and she's retired, or she has a minimal job. So she's normally at home during the day. Her husband either really isn't into biblical media or he's already passed away. A lot of my people in my community are widows. And so that's a big portion of, like, I even did a poll one time
to ask, like, hey, are you married, single, or widowed, or what does that look like? And a large portion of my community is widows.
You need a nursing home sponsorship.
Sure. A lot of them are like, they're still self-sustaining. They're still the people that show up to chosen to be extras, things like that. So they're not like, most of them are not like bedridden sort of thing. But they are older and they have families around them and things like that. But they've grown up in the church for a really long time, but they may not understand like things that they've learned in church. So, for example, I love this comment that I got from a woman in Ireland or Scotland. I can't remember off the top of my head. But Marjorie, she's amazing. She's in every single one of my live streams. She stays up till 1 or 2 a.m. to watch them because she's in Ireland or Scotland. And she sent me this message the other week, and I have a screenshot of it. And it just meant the most to me because she said that she had gone to church her whole entire life. And she had gone through all of these different sermons and listened to thousands of things, all her entire life. But most of her life, she did not understand what people were saying. She just went to church because it was traditional and it was something that she needed to do. But because of my channel, she's starting to go back and remember all these things that she listened to her whole entire life. And it's beginning to make sense to her now because, even though she's 76, because she is starting to understand the cultural and historical significances of the things that people were trying to teach her entire life, but she just didn't understand it because God has given me the ability to communicate and to simplify it for her, right?
So can I just, I'm going to relate this to your channel, but I want to ask you, so you and your wife started the Snipe life.
Yes, yeah.
You didn't have a why or a who.
Yeah, we totally thought it was going to be 30s, like it was going to be us.
So, but I want to just kind of highlight that for a second. The fact that I don't want people to feel like, oh, if I don't have my why and my who, I can't get started.
Yeah.
Like the process of figuring out your who and your why sometimes can take years, and that's okay. But you're saying like eventually, in order to start to see that hockey stick of a growth, you must have a why and a who.
Yeah, you're going to get data points as you go. So I would say the most important thing to do is just to start. Whatever you need to do, you can create another channel later. That's what I did, right? I had the Snipe Life, and for a year and a half on the Snipe Life, I talked specifically about the chosen and biblical stuff, but then I started adding in other things, and it got too complicated, right? It got too much to where it was just the algorithm was like, I have no idea who to send this to, bro. Like I don't know what to do here. So just randomly on a whim, I got this feeling, and it had to have been God at the time, like just telling me what to do. But I had this really strong feeling, and I'm texting all my YouTube friends. I'm like, should I just start a new channel? And all of them were like, I don't know, bro. Like, maybe you should start a new channel to put like more personal stuff or Israel stuff or other things on. Yeah. Maybe start a new channel for that, and then leave your chosen stuff alone because I think it'll hurt it, But I was like, no, I know my audience so well, right? And I know my why so well that I think no matter what, if I started a chosen channel, if I started a biblical media channel, that it will succeed 100%. And that's exactly what happened. So for you, I would say, yes, look at your data, look at your analytics, and use that as a key. And I don't think when you're starting your channel, I don't think it's like, okay, you have to have your why and your who, and it stays the same forever. You can't change it. It'll change over time. And mine will change over time too. One, because my audience is older. They're either going to age out of YouTube, they don't watch it anymore, or some of them are going to pass away. Like there's different things that are going to happen over the next 10 or 20 years, right? So there's a lot to that, but it'll change over time.
Yeah, and there's demographic and there's psychographic.
Yes.
And interests. And so like most of my career, I've worked in Christian radio, and Christian radio is majority women. They're the chosen YouTube channel audience. You know, women, it's kind of changed through the years, in the 2000s, it was like soccer mom. Yeah. And in all the marketing consultants within Christian radio would look at the data and reports, and they came up with the avatar. Her name was Becky. Like they literally it's like running joke in Christian radio. Like, what would Becky do? What would Becky want to hear on the radio? But then we also know so that's why the music is what it is. Like it's making sure that and it's gotten older now, but that the music would be something they want. That's why you don't hear a hip hop song, because Becky, the Christian radio listener, doesn't want to hear hip hop as much. But there's still plenty of men who are listening to Christian radio. So that's where, because I have that in my background, but then with a YouTube channel going, even the monetization, if I had a bunch of dudes on my channel versus a bunch of older women, like you make more money.
Yeah.
But that's not the only reason I'm doing it. Like I want to reach people, and your idea of making another channel, and it's like, because I even now as a filter of like, who am I going to interview? Like I had a former NFL quarterback, and it was like awesome for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But if my audience was your audience, they probably wouldn't be interested. But maybe they would if I change the camera angle enough. Again, if I go back to my why, I want the questions I'm asking and the stories that are going to be told in the testimonies are to encourage you to be salt and light. Nobody on my YouTube channel is probably an NFL quarterback. So, but he was able to share, something that I think people could take into their life, and how are you going to be salt and light? So
if your audience is men, then you show him playing football. If your audience is women, you just have him take his shirt off, and then, then you're totally good.
Or holding his babies. Let me go make an edit. Let me go change that thumbnail.
I think the point is, though, that just you need to wrestle as a creator. You've got to wrestle with this, and that the wrestle isn't bad. Like the fact that you're maybe even just a little bit frustrated by the process, and you wish the answer was there, that's okay. Like just try to rest in the wrestle, so that eventually have faith and the understanding that God is not going to leave you alone in this. That if you can continually press in and don't quit and keep asking the questions, keep asking, seeking, and knocking, you will receive the answer, because He is faithful and He is good. Yeah. And then it's going to, like it did for you, and like it will for you, and it already is starting to be for you. It's going to pan out.
When you do this, because if you've got a big why, you want to reach more people with that why. Yeah. And so thinking strategically on a YouTube channel, and because I think I'm still in the early enough phases where I'm kind of throwing stuff against the wall, and the audience will become clearer over time. I need more data. Yeah. Your story exactly, like you had a 30-year-old in mind, and now you're at 65 plus. Yep. But you aren't, because I think some people might bristle with it and go, well, I'm not being authentic. Like Brandon, you're not being authentic. You're talking one way on this one, and you're talking a different way. Sure. But I think you're talking to your audience. Like when you're in a social conversation, and I'm talking to a buddy at the gym, but then on Sunday morning at church talking to the 65-year-old woman, I'm going to talk differently there too. Yeah. So it's
very much like my wife when she talks to her friends back at home. She goes straight back to the ghetto. Like she's like straight back in the hood for sure. Yeah. And then when she talks to people at church, and she's like talking to her mentor Michelle, she's like totally different for sure. Yeah. But this is a biblical principle. This is from Paul. Yeah. We see this with Paul. Yes. He says, "I am one way with the Greeks. I'm one way with the Jews. I'm one way with the pagans. I'm one way with the scholars. I'm one way with the there are different ranges of how you can react and talk to people, because communication is that thing. It doesn't mean that you're being inauthentic. It just means that you are serving that particular niche of people. I am the same person, right? Yep. I just slow down my speech a little bit. I'm still saying my same opinions that I always have. I don't change those. I don't change the truth of the scriptures, right? How I live my life. I'm very transparent. I tell them when I mess up or when I get things wrong. Like all those things are still the same. I am still me, but the way that I communicate those things are going to change depending on if I'm talking to my anime-loving friends, that I have in real life versus the people that are following me online, or my Patreon people versus my normal YouTube comments. Those things change too, because I have a different relationship with those people. So.
Yeah.
One quick question, because you talk to a lot of YouTubers. Are there example channels that reach kind of 50-50 male female, or across the board age demographic wise?
Yeah, I think there are. I think they're pretty rare. Yeah. I think generally you're going to reach a certain subset of people, but there could be a fandom, for example, that is exactly split 50-50. Like Severance, I don't think would be a TV show that's like male dominated or female dominated. I think it's probably close to 50-50-ish.
Probably, yeah.
But there's probably a specific age range, which is probably like late Gen X, millennial kind of age range. Yeah. So,
well, everyone. I think you kicked it off with like, we want to reach everybody. This is such a great idea. Yeah. Everyone needs to see it, but that's just not the reality. The reason I asked is I want people to realize like you will probably have to narrow down, but it also helps sometimes those guardrails and extra confinements make you more creative because you have that person in your mind. And you can hit, what's the bullseye? Realizing you're hitting that bullseye, but there's going to be other people who are impacted by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so those are the things I would think about if you're starting a channel, for sure. And there's a lot more to that. Basically, how I'm going to try to structure some of my topics in the future is to have them be kind of building blocks so that you can watch this one, then the next one will kind of go to the next level, the next level, the next level, and we'll talk about things as we go on, because I think it'll be good to have people kind of like start their journey and walk alongside it and see what the next steps are.
Yeah.
And so maybe next time we'll talk about the how and how you actually make those systems and how you get into that. So that'll be interesting. But anyway, any last things?
No, I think we covered a lot of good stuff in this one, as we always do.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful to be with you guys. This is a highlight of my week. Love it.
It's wild how a few ideas written down can fill an hour. And like, I didn't expect to go down some of these paths, but it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah. I'm learning. We're all learning. And that's why we're here too. You know, it's fun.
Super interesting. Awesome. Cool stuff.